Thank you, good morning, and welcome to the VSN and Spectra Logic webinar on intuitive media asset management and modern storage systems. Today we're going to be joined with Hossein Ziashakari of Spectra Logic. He's a VP of Business Development and Alliances. Also, Tony Villalta of VSN, their product manager, is going to be joining us for the webinar. If there are any issues with audio or any problems with AV whatsoever, please go ahead and pose a question in the lower right-hand portion of your screen. Throughout the webinar, we'll be taking in questions, and we will be answering those at the very end. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to Tony for a quick overview of VSN and VSNExplorer.
Thank you, Katie. Hi, everyone, and thanks to all Spectra team for giving us the opportunity to participate on this exciting webinar. And first of all, let me introduce my company, VSN. We are a global software development company for the media and entertainment industry, and mainly we provide innovative solutions to solve the complete workflow of any audiovisual company. We are based in Barcelona, but we also have offices in Chile, Montevideo, Miami, Hong Kong, Madrid, a center of technological excellence in Alicante, Spain, and a worldwide network of partners, always keeping close to our clients. So let's review quickly our timeline. More than 25 years ago, we started offering broadcast automation systems, and it is at 2004 approximately when we started the international expansion, opening new offices around the globe and including news automation and media asset management systems in our portfolio. From that moment, we set as one of our priorities to provide one of the more competitive MAM systems, and we always try to be aligned with the new technology and needs of the industry. More than 1,000 clients all around the world can certify our expertise in managing the complete life cycle of the media content, and this is what we do. One of our main target clients are the broadcast companies, of course, but our three main solutions are also focused on other industries, such as universities, content providers, news agencies, post-production, and at the end of the day, any kind of organization that needs to manage their media. So in this diagram, you can see our end-to-end workflow that covers mostly all the stages of the media lifecycle, from the ingest, production, media management, news management, traffic, scheduling, MCR automation, and obviously the archive. So as you can imagine, most of the time we act as a bus or let's say a connector, able to design, optimize, and adapt all kinds of workflows that can be totally different, obviously depending on each company. The main core of all our workflows are the central services of the media asset management, and it's in this stage where I would like to focus your attention today. Our solution for media and business process management includes several software modules like our MEM, PAM, BPM, BI, all them included in our product VSNExplorer. Our media bus or storage manager has full integration with Converged storage systems for digital preservation like BlackPearl from Spectra Logic that you will discover in depth in some minutes. So what you can find within this family called VSNExplorer, first of all, an easy-to-use HTML5 web interface accessible anytime and anywhere, an intelligent search engine for metadata indexation. Our, as I said, VSN Storage Manager service is a very important piece of our puzzle, especially when we talk about managing several types of storages, online, included Avid systems or archiving systems like BlackPearl. Advanced workflows including artificial intelligence, custom metadata for searching, for cataloging, total integration with Active Directory or any LDAP, and all our services follow the most advanced standards and protocols of the industry. And thanks to our API, it is easy and fast to integrate our system with third parties, something I'm sure Spectra can certify. And inside this web interface of VSNExplorer, we can find the four main members of the family: the media asset management, production asset management, workflows and business process management, and the last, the business intelligence. We could go in depth in all these elements, but I think that today it's interesting to remark that one element present as a very important actor in each of these modules is precisely the archive system. In the media asset management, it is obvious that the archive system is a key piece as it is the best repository for the long-term retention of content. In the production asset management, we need a place to park our production sequences and all the material used in the active production to free space, for example, from the online storage. In the BPM, we can find the archive system involved, for example, in the automation of archiving and retrieval workflows. And finally, thanks to our business intelligence module and our integration with the archiving systems, the user can generate their own dynamic reports to know, for example, the volume of assets archived into BlackPearl, the available free space of the storage. At the end of the day, useful information to make business decisions. Don't worry, because during the demo, you will be able to see all this in action. And over the top, what we have, like I say from VSNExplorer, I like to say that this is not just a simple MAM system. We offer more than a MAM by adding new attractive features aligned with the new technological trends and obviously the needs of the market, such as artificial intelligence to automatically get any insights of the media like face recognition detection, objects detection, speech to text and transcriptions to many languages. VSNExplorer also includes a powerful low-res web editor. If we have time, I will show you later, that we call Wedit. Fingerprinting of content to, for example, know how many times one asset has been broadcasted or used into any kind of platform, video-on-demand platforms, MCR, etc. Automatic detection of relevant terms extracted from online thesaurus databases such as Wikipedia. A proprietary service protocol for acceleration of transfers between different locations, UMP. That's similar if you know Aspera or Signian. This would be equivalent. And our solution is totally prepared for cloud environments and can be totally or partially deployed in the cloud. And as I told you before, new features to come. We are day by day including new features in VSNExplorer. And now I will give control to Hussein, VP Business Development from Spectra, who will put a little more light on Spectra archiving components and technology. Hussein, all yours.
Thank you, Tony. Good morning, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Most of you know Spectra, but for those of you who may not, Spectra, we've been around since 1979, nearly 40 years of design and development of storage product, always focusing on secondary and tertiary storage, which includes a mix of disk and tape libraries. But the companies, we have worldwide deployment in nearly 70 countries, and pretty much everything is headquartered, designed and developed and supported from Boulder, Colorado. However, our European headquarters is in Bracknell, UK, and our Asia Pac business is managed from Sydney, Australia. The Spectra background comes from years in general IT, but it's been about 27 years where Spectra put focus also in media and entertainment, as well as a couple other vertical markets, such as high performance and supercomputing, and we obviously have quite a bit of focus in federal government. You will find us in very small to very large enterprises worldwide. And pretty much a lot of those development has been a mix of products that includes our tape libraries. That's probably by far the most recognized brand is our tape libraries, kind of scale from very small to very, very large ones. However, with any archival system, quite often, there is a need for a cache and or nearline to tightly couple with it and to gain the best performance and longevity out of the overall solution. So Spectra, in addition to the tape library, we do have NAS, BID, CEFS, BID, NFS that is tightly coupled with our tape library for the best performance. But the latest thing that we have over the last 5 years developed is our BlackPearl Converged storage system, which provides a unified portal to any number of storage medium, on its back end as object storage. So that is where the integration has happened, and we're going to talk quite a bit about that. But before I get into that, I just wanted to quickly touch on the traditional model. In traditional model, basically, the production asset management or media asset management was always integrated or worked with another layer of software called middleware, which was a mix of data movers and databases and management consoles and what have you. And that managed the tape libraries and nearline storage to manage the archive. And it was through this model where SpectraLogic has had nearly 20,000 deployment worldwide with our tape libraries. So our tape libraries very quickly, you kind of start from T50 to Tfinity, and all of them have the same look and feel and very common set of modules that makes these things. And SpectraLogic is the largest provider of tape library and the largest library, nearly 400,000 slots. But one of the things that lately we've done is a brand new library that we just introduced adding to this family. We've designed it specifically to be very easy, in fact, user installable, user serviceable. All of this has been based on demands we've seen in the market in terms of managing the cost as the storage grows. And as you guys know, with all the file sizes and the amount of content that is constantly being generated, we have to be able to provide solutions that help them manage costs better, or the end user costs better. So we've made sure that the same look, feel, and the same feature sets are available in this product as well. One of the best things about this product is that you can start very small from 1 drive, 10 slot, and 2 42 drive and 560 slots. The way you can scale this library is by adding additional nodes. And there are a couple of pins that line the master node to the expansion node, and that's pretty much all that is needed. And again, the user can do this very, very easy. The other product that we have is which I mentioned couples our tape libraries and tape archives quite closely, is our NAS products. Quite often, these things are used as a front-end cache to the tape library, could be used as nearline storage, as a disk farm, or if you are in a post-production shop, it could be used as a parking lot or data staging. It's a box that is very low cost at about 10 cents a gig, and you can start from 48 terabytes to nearly, or actually over 10 petabytes. And we do have a lot of features in this to make the automatic rebuild should there be a need for that, but also replication to be able to protect the data. In many cases, we quite often see this as an ingest platform, and replication can provide additional protection in such cases. So enough said about this traditional model. What we're here for is talk about the integration with the BlackPearl, which is our unified portal for object storage. What we've seen in the industry, basically, as you guys very well know, media and entertainment is not what it used to be. The social media companies have jumped into the fray, networking companies have jumped into the fray, so the landscape is far more competitive. With the competitiveness, there comes a drive for greater efficiency. So they want, many companies are looking for ways to make things more efficient, simplified, eliminate redundancies, create automation, remove redundant functions and what have you, to do more basically with less in a much more simple, transparent way. And that's where BlackPearl comes in. That's where the integration comes in with VSN. The traditional model, basically, you had the application and the data and the tape library. And as we mentioned earlier, you have a complex set of software that manage the robot and the nearline storage. With this came a lot of complexity. You needed to basically coordinate between 3 different companies to deploy it. With that, you had many databases and movers, and support was a lot more expensive and complex to figure things out. And of course, probably one of the biggest pain points associated with the traditional model was the licensing cost. As the end users' storage grew, so did the cost associated with managing the licensing cost that the middleware basically required. So that made it very impossible almost to grow, or very difficult, very costly. And of course, majority or most of these applications they would write the content on a proprietary format on the storage medium, such as tape. So that will make migration from one application to another application or from one middleware to another middleware very, very expensive and very time consuming. And of course, when you try to support it, whether you wanted to upgrade it and what have you, that would create quite a bit of complexity. And when you're talking about longevity of assets over time, you would create dependencies, software dependencies on your archive. So it was very hard to switch. And that's where things have come and where we changed the model with what we call our BlackPearl, where we could develop a very simple client on the application to tie the application directly to the storage, and thereby eliminate the need for the middleware altogether and all the complexities and costs associated with that. With the new model, what you get is basically, as I mentioned, no more middleware. There is no more licensing costs. There is no more drive costs. There are no more partitioning costs. And the support becomes easier because now you deal with 2 vendors instead of 3. And of course, that makes it much easier to provide support, to provide upgrades, and what have you. And one of the most important things that we've done in this model is that anything that is written on backend tape or other storage medium, be it the cloud or be it the subsystem and what have you, we write things in LTFS. And with LTFS comes integrated metadata. So that makes the storage medium, the tape cartridge itself, self-describing on asset. What that does, it makes it readable by any standard driver, LTFS driver that you can get from any number of sources. In fact, you can have the source code for it. The other aspect of this is that it's object storage. Object storage, by its definition, it's very scalable. It's very easy to search, and again, with it comes the metadata and ability to integrate it directly with a simple RESTful API by the application. And of course, in addition to that, you get multi-tenancy, which means that you can manage or share the same set of archive, the same set of assets by any number of applications. That's where the value of this whole thing comes. And this thing is basically a network device. It very much functions very simple, very transparently with the end users. So very, very easy to use and deploy. So in a simple form, when you look at it in any environment, VSN being the asset management or production asset management application, or all the functions that they provide. And at the center of that, you can look at it that in any environment, you need basically small amount of primary storage. You want to minimize that because you want to manage costs. And in turn, what you would like to do is to have a large repository of disk for your asset that you retain. And anytime you need to do any rendering or editing, you simply move the content transparently by the asset management application with VSNExplorer from, say, BlackPearl, very transparently to primary storage, do your functions and what have you, and then push it back down again. Of course, once you have the content on BlackPearl, it can go to a large repository of disk called Arctic Blue, which we'll talk about that quite a bit. It's disk-based object storage. But additionally, you can create copies on a tape library, be it for added protection or DR. You can also create additional copies to the cloud. All you got to do is just set up the policies to create additional copies on cloud or on a tape library or on disk, and each one of them can have their own retention policy in terms of time, be it a week, be it a month, be it permanent, if you wanted to create replication, or even if you wanted to go to another BlackPearl on another site to create resiliency or to create DR copies. Now, as I mentioned, BlackPearl writes all the assets on LTFS tape, so you can export LTFS tape for sharing with the clients, or you can receive LTFS tape and simply and transparently put it into a tape library, by which we recognize and we let the VSNExplorer know, and they could add an additional log, basically, or additional entry into their database. So it makes it very, very easy to import and export content for clients. At the heart of this whole solution is what we call Arctic Blue, which is a simple, capacity-intensive, modern storage, and it's disk-based object storage. At the heart of this, and it's managed by BlackPearl, and what it really is a set of storage nodes that are organized into bands, as you see in the picture. Now, one of the most important aspects of Arctic Blue, this disk-based object storage, is the fact that we can power manage every band individually. The fact that it is object storage, we are no longer bound by the timeout issues that are typical of network-attached storage, be it NAS or NFS or CEFS or what have you. By powering down the system, what we can do is increase the life of the disk subsystem from 3 to 4 years to nearly 7 years, or actually over 7 years. So what that does, it eliminates the need for a forklift upgrade or migration every 3 or 4 years, and that translates into significant cost saving to the customers and headaches associated with having to migrate the content from an older model to a newer one. The scaling of that Arctic Blue is quite simple. Is you can add bands while the system is hot and running. You can start with 1 or with 2 bands and add bands as needed. If the number of bands are maxed out in a particular node, then you can add additional nodes, again hot. And as you add storage, they automatically get auto provision into available storage. So it's everything completely transparent to the end user and to the live operation of any environment. Probably the greatest benefit of this is that it provides the application, the end user, with fast concurrent access. You can have hundreds of concurrent access by many users simultaneously. And of course, when you couple this with tape libraries or cloud or others, it gives you greater availability. But also you can have within it, by BlackPearl, you can have cold pair or hot pair for higher resiliency and availability. Where do you use it? In nearly every environment, be it from, it basically complements production storage. So you can minimize the production storage and retain all your assets on this. You could use it in news environment, in sports, in graphics, web content repositories, nearline or digital parking lot. It basically is a massive disk farm to, at a very low cost, 10 cents per gigabyte, manage huge repositories of assets and save yourself a lot of money, and at the same time maintain very high performance perspective. In the simplest of form, VSNExplorer is tightly integrated with BlackPearl by creating a simple client that through RESTful APIs, which is a very modern approach to storage. So you will have the production storage, and the assets basically go via VSNExplorer between production storage and the master repository Arctic Blue. From there, you can, whether it is at the time of deployment or later on, you can simply change a policy, and that will give you the ability to create content on the cloud as well. Or if you wanted to add a tape library for greater protection or for greater cost control, you simply add the tape library to BlackPearl. And to the environment, again, change the policies to create copies, single or multiple copies with, short-term, mid-term, or long-term retention on a tape library. This is in a very simplified environment, but you could also do things so that you can have Arctic Blue in one side, and you can have another BlackPearl with another tape library on another side. BlackPearl can seamlessly and natively create additional copies, replicate copies between multiple sites. And should something happen to BlackPearl, say in one environment, the VSNExplorer can basically do a DNS swap and see the other BlackPearl in the other environment. So that gives much greater resiliency to the overall solution. And all of these basically happens asynchronously, where the assets are asynchronously replicated between multiple sites. So that's basically where the value of this tight integration is. It's basically the VSN solutions tightly integrated with Spectra solution as a single portal. So all the assets are managed between multiple tiers of storage seamlessly without the end users or even admin basically managed between those. So with that said, I'm going to let Tony take over and do a demo of this integrated solution. Tony, will you please start the demo?
Yeah, sorry, Hussein, it was my microphone, no problem. I'm on air again. Thank you very much, Hussein, for giving us a little more light on the BlackPearl features and how Spectra perfectly fits in the preservation workflows. Workflows like the ones that we will see now during the demo section of this webinar. But before, what could be a typical workflow when having a MAM system controlling the different content location of their assets? So as Hussein said, using the same VSNExplorer web interface, the users will be able to search their ingested or produced assets. And normally when we are ingesting the media, the assets are firstly uploaded or transferred to the online storage, managed also by the MAM. When it's time to archive the content, the user manually can launch actions from the MAM to deliver the asset files to the archiving systems. VSNExplorer also offers the possibility to automate these archiving tasks based on metadata rules, for example. And at this moment, VSN communicates via API with BlackPearl to activate the archiving processes. The MAM system is being notified all the time about the location and the status of each file in the library. Once the asset files are archived and it's time to retrieve content from the library, the user or the automatic actions will send GET comments to BlackPearl to retrieve the desired content back to the online storage so that another user can take benefits on the retrieval assets from VSNExplorer. So summarizing, the MAM system and BlackPearl system should be perfectly integrated to guarantee an optimal archive and retrieval workflow. And now, yes, let's see part of this integration using VSNExplorer web interface. So to do that, I will access to VSNExplorer web interface and I will access with my user. Before going on the user operation, please let me show you some administration and configuration parts that are interested to understand the workflow I will show you later. First, here in the same VSNExplorer interface is where you can create your own storages. So if I create a BlackPearl storage here, as you can see, we have all the information needed to make this API communication. So we can create as many packets from BlackPearl here by putting all these parameters. And obviously, always we help the administrator user guiding them to the configuration. Once we have this storage created, now it's time to create the agent that will be responsible to send, in this case, media assets to the BlackPearl. So in the same interface, what you can do is create a send to archive action or agent. Here we could set like send to BlackPearl. And from the same web interface, you can configure which file or which files you want to send to BlackPearl, and even deciding if you want to transcode the main file of the asset before delivering to, in this case, BlackPearl. I select the buckets of BlackPearl. In this case, I have this one, and now I just have to save and publish this agent. We have a concept in MAM that is the areas. So here you can create as many areas to have like a multi-tenant system of MAM. We can have like different clients, different areas, or like broadcast, TV, radio, etc. In each area, what we have is including the actions that the assets of this area will have, like the send to BlackPearl that I already configured. And then also we can classify the assets of the area depending if they are news, they are sports, programs, giving them different metadata sets and different permissions. And also here we can create different processes like the one that I created for you today, the archiving process. Here I create a process that is defining that by default all the ingested assets that has included this archive process will be pending. This is the initial status. So that are labels that you can change. From pending, the users with permissions, they can switch the status of the asset to maybe rejected, maybe archived, published. That's something very totally customizable. In this transition, in this case, to send to BlackPearl, this is the name of the action, you decide which users or groups will have these permissions to execute this process and what will happen when they execute that. it will happen what you decide. In my case, I decided that the system will internally send to BlackPearl, and why not maybe then change the asset rights. Here you can add as many agents as the ones that you configured as I showed you in the first step. And even you can define metadata rules for executing that. Here I decided that only the broadcast assets that are editable online will be archived, but you can put as many metadata rules. These are the fields that you can create by yourself of metadata, and then the system will do the actions or not, and in the order that you decide. So that is the administration part that I wanted to show you. So now let's see what is the user operation in this example that I showed you now. In VSNExplorer, as you remember, depending on the area, you will have classified the different assets. So you can start searching by filtering news, sports, promos, whatever. Or let's do a complete search of all the assets. Here I have like 8,000 assets here, and we have an indexer that gives the results very fast, as you can see, of all the assets. Then you can switch the view, and also you can be more accurate on your search to say, hey, I just need to see these 72 promos that are maybe pending to archive. I have 53 results here pending to archive. That would be a simple search. But what if I want to define more rules of metadata? I can use the advanced search. Here you can apply your own restrictions, your own rules, with your own fields of metadata that you created. Like, for example, I will search all the assets pending to archive, plus another rule, or group of rules as well. The assets created maybe the last, let's say, 3 months, so you can apply as many rules as you want. Then I will execute this search, and then you can save your own searches, and you will have them available in My Searches. And even you can share assets or searches between other users of VSNExplorer. So what you see at this moment are assets that we
Hey there, Tony. It sounds like we lost your audio. There we go.
Yeah, sorry again.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I was doing an advanced search, as you can see in the interface, by applying different metadata. And when we generate the assets, we create the thumbnail, and automatically also we generate the keyframe. So if you have a news story that we ingest in the system, the journalist can easily search the content, because we do automatically a keyframe detecting a change of a scene. So if you have a conference, a camera ingest, the journalist will go straight to the points where the people or the face of the people is talking at each time code. From here you can go straight to the proxy, to the low resolution file. Okay, yeah, and you can preview the proxy. Yeah, I think you hear me, right? Yes, okay. So this is the player. This is auto-adaptive player. Here you can also see the keyframes, and you can go straight to different points of the video. And also, let's do that, for example, with this file. Yeah, here you can do partial retrieval of content. So if you select a time code, you can navigate also with the help of the keyframes, and you can go frame by frame on the proxy, mark out, and then you can do partial retrieval of content. From the proxy, you can launch different actions to retrieve the content from BlackPearl or deliver the content to social networks, any custom action that you can have here. So we can totally retrieve content, or partially we can retrieve the content. Furthermore, remember I told you about our cloud video editor. So here you can create a new edit asset. That's very interesting, because here you can make a cut selection and a timeline editing by dragging different cuts of different assets to your selection, and use our edit tool to generate your low-res editing. From a, for example, journalist point of view, it's very interesting, because what they can do is search the content that we are ingesting, preview the content, drop assets into the timeline. Then here they can do a rough cut selection on the web interface from any location. And what happens is some of the assets that I'm using here are on the deep archive, we automatically send commands to BlackPearl to retrieve the needed content in the timeline sequences. And furthermore, when we finish your editing, you can download the EDL to any of the video editors that you see here in this list, Edius, Premiere, Final Cut, and even Media Composer. We are able to generate an AAF sequence for Avid. So at this moment, when we download the EDL, we need to work on the online files. At this moment, we send requests, if needed, into the archive storage. But imagine that we are in a rush, we don't want to use the NLE, we can launch actions to directly consolidate this editing, and even actions to publish to social networks, the web TV, even by deciding if you want to transcode the profiling background in any of the profiles that you can have in our transcoders. So let's see now the workflow of archiving. To do that, I will open one asset, one of the searches that we did before, for example, for the pending assets. And here, for example, let's open this one. And here I will go straight to the general information where the user can catalog the asset, and even they can create different metadata tables with different fields. Here, important to mention, we can migrate metadata from existing systems like traffic system or all archiving systems, so we will have dynamic metadata migrated here. We are expertise on that, but also we can create our own metadata and modify here all these fields. If I go to files, here you will see that we have a main file. We automatically extract the media information. We index also this information in our database, and you can see here we know the status and the location of the file. This file is in two locations, in a video server, but also in the production storage. So what I'm going to do now is send to BlackPearl this asset. Remember the process I explained you at the beginning. So this is the initial status of the process, pending. From here, I have permission to reject or send to BlackPearl. If you remember, when I send to BlackPearl, two actions will be executed. Let's see that. So at this moment, the system is archiving this asset, and if I refresh the files, you can see that the system is transferring from the online storage to the BlackPearl via API this file. If we go to our job monitor, we can see the evolution of the tasks are real time. You can see send to BlackPearl, change asset rights, whatever we defined, and here we can see which user executed the action and a huge list of logs if needed, in case we have to retry the workflows. So now that's done, we have the file in a Spectra logic, so now we would be able to delete from online manually or automatically, and obviously retrieve the content by launching an action to retrieve the content from the archive. If you take a look, this asset has been archived. So we can create these basic workflows, but also we have the BPM, as I mentioned at the beginning, where we can define more complex workflows inside the company. Like, for example, this diagram that we designed for an existing customer that they have some specific needs with integration with quality check systems, with transcodings, with traffic, and also, why not? One of these boxes could be delivered to BlackPearl or retrieved from BlackPearl, sent to YouTube. All these actions that I showed you before can be converted in boxes in the BPM. Also, we have in the BPM the possibility to create your own Kanbans to know the evolution and the bottlenecks of any of the business process of your company. These are tasks that some user have to execute, then we can go straight to the task to be able to continue with the life cycle of each task. And finally, just to finish this demo, I will show you the BI. Here in this module is where you can create your own graphical reports for business intelligence. And like, for instance, I have here the distribution of assets by user. I want to know how many assets the user are contributing into the system by filtering here all the users. Talking about volumes, here we can see the list of the free space or how many files we have on each of the storages controlled by the MAM. And at the end of the day, you can create and publish your own reports based, why not, on an advanced search on the MAM, based on a search on external systems like BlackPearl or traffic system or MCR. And you just have to decide which graphic you want to obtain and then we can make automatic periodic executions to get daily or weekly reports. You just have to put your restriction here on your reports, again, thanks to the metadata that you can create. So that has been the part of the demo, and before finishing, let me make like some conclusions of the advantages of this integration. Hussein already talked about some of them. That is, reduce the data management time, we can avoid complexities, and also we simplify the workflows. We can automate some repetitive tasks that we can have in any business process, avoid extra costs for deployment. That's something that also Hussein mentioned, support of legacy middleware systems, no way. But one of the things that I want to highlight is that we can migrate and even renew their clients' existing archiving systems in a safe and quick way. What does it mean? So we are working in some projects where there is the need to migrate the old-fashioned archive, let's say, and to a new brand archive system like BlackPearl. So BlackPearl will take care about all related on the hardware, migrating on the old-fashioned tapes to LTO8, like Hussein said before. And in case of VSN, that's a perfect combination because we take it off all the software part, especially when we have to migrate some metadata. We are very expertise on that and put this layer interface of media asset management that you have seen today. So summarizing in this puzzle, we could say VSN is responsible of controlling all the systems and processes involved in the media lifecycle, such as ingest, transcoding, QC, traffic, delivered to social, MCR, including the possible migration and managing of the metadata. And at the same time, Spectra is taking control on everything.
I think we may have lost you again, Tony.
No problem, I'm here again. Yeah, I was like making a conclusion. Just to summarize, in this puzzle, as mentioned, VSN takes care about everything related on the software part and integration with third parties like traffic, ingest, transcoding, etc., including the metadata migration I told you. And as I mentioned, at the same time, Spectra is taking control on everything related on the content preservation and provide its associated hardware that Hussein explained in his part. So the perfect combination for a complete end-to-end workflow. Isn't that right, Hussein?
I'm sorry, repeat that, please.
It's not working.
Hello, Tony?
It's not working.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Hi, I'm sorry, will you repeat that last point?
Yeah, no, I was mentioning just making a conclusion if you have something to say also. I think that you already talked about the advantages of the integration. So yeah, it's just to make the conclusion of the webinar. So if you want to say something, it's all yours, Hussein. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh no, this is great. You did a great job. The biggest thing is basically the simple integration of the VSNExplorer through RESTful API, which is a common modern way to bring different applications and functionality between different components of an overall system. So you did a great job. With that said, I believe there are some questions. Katie, that you want to
Indeed.
see?
So we did receive a few questions during the webinar. So first is, what is the compatibility with Avid OP Atom MXF files?
Tony, would you like to take that? It's more on your side.
Yeah, with integration of Avid, what we are able to do is, same as we create an archiving storage on Spectra, we can create an online storage for Avid. And what we do is automatically do the wrapping from MX OP1A to OP Atom structure, and we can create the AIF files. And then when you use that files from MAM to Media Composer, there is no extra transcoding because we know perfectly the file structures from Avid. So what we do is convert the OP1A to OP Atom that is inside the Nexus storage, or other type of storages that support OP Atom structure at the end of the day.
Okay. And so we have another question. Where are proxies stored, and how are proxy and full resolution clips tracked as a single item?
Yeah, well, in the proxy, what we do is that we can configure where we want to save the proxy file. So same as we created a storage for archiving, we could create an Avito storage, we can create a storage that are for the low res, even in the cloud. So we could have the online on-premise, and maybe the proxies could be in a cloud storage, a blob storage, whatever. So you decide where the proxies will be allocated. Then our automatic agents knows where to create these low-res files, like proxies, keyframes, thumbnails, etc. It could be a SAN, a NAS, etc.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so the next question is, how do you manage specific medium or different tiers of storage?
I guess I'll probably take that, and maybe Tony wants to comment. But on BlackPearl, one thing that you can do is create what we call buckets. It's a term that is used heavily in object storage. And what a bucket is basically a logical container, kind of like programming grouping. And based on, you can then associate different storage medium to it. It could be disk, it could be tape, it could be cloud, it could be a combination of, and then you can set a policy how to retain the asset on those. So, with the previous question, for example, where do you hold or retain the proxies? Proxies could be a bucket on themselves that would, say, land on, a copy of it would be on Arctic Blue and another copy in cloud for protection. But it's a very easy way to do that. And you can create as many buckets as you want to manage different group relative to news or sports or interstitial and all that, but the full flexibility is there.
Perfect. Next question is PFR supported?
I'll take that. BlackPearl can support byte offsets or time codes. VSNExplorer, I believe they can send to us time codes, and we have a module, it's an option that the end users can purchase, and we will do the indexing of the files, and we can convert the time code into byte offset and return and wrapped in whatever the codec that they request to the end user, and put it on the storage that they access it. So yes, it is supported both ways, byte offset or time code.
Perfect. And then for our last question, can you create different grouping in BlackPearl with different policies?
I sort of touched on that. I'm sure VSN has means to create different groupings, which Tony, I'm sure, will comment on. But from our perspective, from a storage perspective, as I mentioned earlier, you can create different buckets and have different policies to associate any number of groupings. So you can manage everything on a single bucket and a single storage, or you can have thousands of buckets and each one of them have different storage medium. The way we respond to the restore request is, if the content is on different storage medium, then BlackPearl will get the asset from the storage medium that provides us the fastest response time. Tony, did you want to comment anything on grouping and managing of different groups of content? Tony, did you want to comment on the last one? Okay.
Looks like we may have lost audio on Tony's side. Let's see. All right.
Please don't go on here. Again, the microphone. Yes, I wanted to say here that in the configuration part of the storage manager that you have seen in VSNExplorer, when we create the storage of BlackPearl, we can also map the buckets of Spectra logic of BlackPearl there. And also in the certification process, what we did is automatically, for example, if there is an error in the BlackPearl or when sending the BlackPearl, we can automatically retrieve like 5, 6, 7 times until we notify the end user that has been an error on this specific bucket. So it's not just a matter of sending content to BlackPearl. We have also these policies between BlackPearl and VSN for each bucket.
Okay. So it looks like that is all of the questions that we received. Thank you, everybody, for joining our webinar today. Thank you, Tony, and thank you, Hossein, for your time. We'll be sending out a recording of this within the next couple days. If you have any questions, feel free to contact either Spectra or VSN. Spectra can be contacted at broadcast@spectralogic.com. Tony, is there a specific email that end users should use to reach out to you guys?
Yes, could be marketing.bsn.s, could be the email. Thank you.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a good day.